welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. I'm excited today to be starting off a Rolling Solo showcase with the setup video for Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice. This comes from Triton Noir. Of course, for those of you familiar with the video games, then you'll be right at home here. If you've heard of them or maybe never actually played any of the Assassin's Creed games before, either way, you should get a great understanding during this showcase as to whether or not this game is going to be a fit for you, which is the aim overall. So without further ado, let's dive into the rule book, and you can see right here it says to start by reading this booklet first before you dive into the campaign booklet. There is one thing though I want to mention in terms of how this rulebook is structured. Now when you head into the rulebook for the very first time with Assassin's Creed, you're going to notice there's two different ways to consume the book in terms of how you learn the game. And the first is pretty obvious. You read the actual rulebook from the cover until the very back page and retain all that information moving into the campaign booklet and moving through the sequences within it and playing it through. That's usually the typical way that most people will learn a game. However, there is an alternative way here, which I really like because it doesn't drown you in rules right off the start and allows you to set up the game, get it to the table, and start playing, but you learn as you play. Very reminiscent of what Jaws of the Lion did in terms of putting you through 5 scenarios or tutorial scenarios at the beginning to start layering in how the mechanisms within the game work without overloading you with a ton of options that you don't truly understand fully at the very beginning. Inside the rulebook, you're going to see exactly what I just alluded to moments ago around learning through play. So the rulebook itself, as you can see, has sections that are going to have a blue diamond with a number inside of them, and you can go ahead, as I mentioned, read the entire thing front cover to back cover before you even bother moving into the campaign, or you can decide to just move into the first sequence of the campaign. It will show you the blue diamonds you need to read to understand and play that particular scenario, and you could even do it as you're playing, or as it mentions right here in the middle, it says we strongly recommend that you read the rule points, in other words all of them, for a particular sequence first. So for instance, it might tell you to read rule point 2, 4, 7, and 8, and that's it. That's all you need to know in order to get playing in that first sequence. Again, this makes things a lot more accessible. I really like this. Just underneath of this, you're also going to notice something specific to solo play. It states if you choose to play solo, you must pick at least 2 assassins. So we'll be doing that as we move into the setup right now. As we just saw in the learning through play note within the rulebook, it stated at the end of that we should go ahead and keep reading until we reach the blue diamond number 1 and read that all the way through as well. So that's this whole section right here. You're going to want to make sure you read this first because it really does hammer home some important things you need to know around the cards that are going to be coming from the envelopes. You're not going to be going into those envelopes and just dumping everything onto the table and making everything visible. There is a proper way to go about that, and you'll see that as I move through here. Next, you're going to want to go inside each of the 4 apprentice envelopes, which are labeled with an actual name on them. Open those envelopes up, but only take out this large card from each of them and follow the instructions. You'll find these larger size cards very easily. Pull them out, ensure you don't look at anything else inside of that envelope when you do it, and just place these cards so the apprentice side of the card is facing up. Now you'll notice at this point in time, there's not many differences between the different apprentices. There's only differences in the color of the card and their gender. It's important to note that you'll be able to switch characters after playing through your very first memory. For my playthrough, these are the 2 assassins that I've chosen in terms of apprentices. In order to know which envelopes actually relate to them so you can keep them nearby, you can just flip it over really quick to look at the opposite side. The name will be there. Next, you're going to want to find 2 assassins boards, place them in front of you, then go ahead and place the cards for your apprentices on each of the boards. Next, you'll want to ensure you've got the right miniature for the apprentice you're using. So in this case, just match up the miniature to the pose on the card, and also using the banner on the top, note the color, find that color base, and just clip it onto the bottom of the assassin. Once you've done this, you've done the first major step of setting up your character, but there's still a few more to go. Next, we're going to go ahead and place 3 white action cubes in these slots here, and then 3 health cubes down below. One other thing to note on the character boards, you've got some slots on the sides of the board. 2 of them are available to you as an apprentice, 1 and Roman numeral 2. Over here we have 3 and 4 with icons beside them. You have to be a true assassin in order to have access to these slots. Now we'll worry about the narrative text when we move into part number 1. For now, let's jump down to the setup here where it states, if we don't already understand how to pull the map tiles, we're going to go to reading rule point 7 from the rulebook. I already know how to do this, but essentially there's a lot of really cool customization in how you pull the tiles for a given setup. In other words, your look of your potential memory 0.1 could be very different on the table than somebody else's, as it gives some freedom as to which tiles you choose, but there are some restrictions. So for instance, it states here 3 small indoor tiles can be selected, but they have to have 3 walls around them in order to qualify to be part of the scenario, which does give you the ability to pick the tiles that you like the look of the best. Here's an example of all the tiles that come inside the core box. We're not going to be needing any of these larger ones, as this very first memory, 0.1, only uses these smaller tiles, but does state we need to pick a certain amount of certain types of tiles. What are those types? Well, when you take a look at one of these tiles, you'll notice on the outside, not only around the edges is there some black trim, which in this case would mean this tile has 3 walls around it. If you flip it over to its opposite side, you're going to find differences, not only on those outer edges in terms of how many black edges there are, but also whether it's an indoor or outdoor space. You'll also find tiles with roofs, and those roofs can actually have walls on them as well. I've gone ahead and selected all the tiles for this memory. I needed 3 small indoor tiles with 3 walls, which are in the top right-hand corner, 4 small street tiles without walls in the bottom left-hand corner, 1 small indoor tile with 2 walls in the bottom right, and in the top left, 3 small roof tiles without any walls. And just like that, based on the campaign book, which gives you a diagram as to where to place each of the tiles it calls for, but again, giving you the full ability to place them in whichever way you want in terms of their orientation. So in other words, you can rotate any of these tiles in their positions that you want. Plus, you can swap tiles from different positions. So if I don't want the fountain here and I'd rather it be over here, so long as you're within the boundaries of the amount of walls and the tile type that should be in a certain spot, you can be flexible with how the scenario looks. So somebody else's memory 0.1 could look very different than yours. Now go ahead and grab 4 objective bases, as you can see here on the far left. Then find objective tokens which have a 1 on them, and you're going to place 1 in the center of each of the objective bases. Now collect 3 crossbowmen and place 2 of them inside 2 of the objective bases you just put together. Now you'll want to follow the diagram inside of memory 0.1 to find out where these objective bases are placed, as well as any miniatures that are not inside of them. Just like that, all the objective bases are now on the map. We're now going to add the final crossbowman, as well as the fast travel station, and our apprentices are going to show up on the scene. Our apprentices are now in place. We have that additional crossbowman over here. The last thing to place are just some reminders around detection tests. For the purposes of learning, these detection test tokens are placed in the 3 positions where there's crossbowmen. They're all set now. We also have an overarching alert state token, which needs to be on its green side to start out this memory. We'll also need some red dice as well as red bases, so keep those within easy reach. I've also gone ahead and taken some game trays to store all the other tokens that we're currently not using. In order to complete the setup, we now need to dive into the memory envelope that we're currently playing, which is 0.1. So just like we went into the apprentice envelopes, we're going to be opening this envelope up and just looking for the large red card first, which will let us know what things to reveal and what things to still keep secret inside the envelope. Looking at the large red card, it states to reveal the 4 small equipment cards and split them between the assassin apprentices. Place them in one of the 5 slots of your assassin's board. Then below it says do not reveal the 5 large event cards, but you still are going to shuffle them to form the event deck and place the deck near the map. We'll be doing this for sure. And the final thing just reminds you that sometimes there's going to be cards inside the envelope that you're not going to do anything with just yet. Here are the reward cards. It even states on the top, reveal this card after completing memory 0.1. These are the cards that the large red card told us to put back inside the envelope. So I'll be doing that with these. And then the event cards have been shuffled, placed face down right next to our map. The items that were inside of the envelope were parachutes, as you can see right here, and I've slotted one in for each of my apprentices. There were a total of 4 inside the envelope, and when you're controlling 4 assassins, each of them would get 1. In a case when you're playing solo with 2 assassins, you're going to take 1 parachute each. I will be double checking, however, that we couldn't have equipped 2 parachutes to each assassin apprentice, but I believe that would be a little bit overpowered. So I will be double checking on that to be 100% certain, but as of right now I'm going with 1 for each. And that's going to wrap up the setup for Sequence 0 Memory 0.1 of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice from Triton Noir. Really looking forward to diving into the playthrough in the next episode. Hope to see you there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep on rolling solo.